Welcome back. My name's Matthew Conlon. This is my channel, which seems like it's going to have now 4 videos responding to MasakoX's Broly and Cheelai spin-off series video. It was really got me thinking. I like telling stories. I like thinking about Dragon Ball and other things, obviously, but this has really captured my imagination for the moment. So, when we left off, Zol-Gorgon, Boss Chisudai, the Rat Syndicate Lord, he had dispatched his top enforcer, Zol-Gorgon, a member of the recently invented Tartar race, a race of bull-bodied centaurs with minotaur heads. He had sent him to hit Frieza forces on planet Vampa, but those forces don't actually exist. It was just Lemmo and Cheelai in their old Frieza uniforms. So Zol-Gorgon comes in hard and fast. He just jumps out of his ship to crash into the group's cave. The capsule core house that Goku brought them is annihilated. However, Broly, he, maybe he's been training with Goku in the interim and has sort of learned how to sense energy to one degree or another. So Broly manages to hop out, and he has his friends under his arms, which is, a little humiliating to Lemmo. He's not super happy that he's being carried around like a sack of potatoes. Cheelai's happy because, she's been crushing on Broly hard. But they manage to escape when Broly jumps out. And then, Broly squares off with Zol-Gorgon. And Zol-Gorgon is, he's like the man for the Chisudai Syndicate. He is the top enforcer that works directly for Boss Chisudai. So he comes in, he's thinking, I'm the big deal. He doesn't know anything about Broly. And I'm thinking Zol-Gorgon stands, I don't know, like 2 feet taller than Broly. He's supposed to be this Tartar, which is, a full-sized bull's body with a large humanoid torso. So I'm thinking he's like really massive, and that'll play just an important storytelling role later in the story when Broly starts to go legendary Super Saiyan or Super Saiyan Berserk, whatever you want to call it. So the two of them are, giving each other the stare down. Broly's never seen a Tartar before. Nobody has, because I made him up. So Broly's like, what are you? And Zol-Gorgon, he's not the biggest fan of Frieza forces. So he says, I'm a Tartar. And your worst nightmare, bootlicker. Or something similarly offensive. And then the two of them start to scrap. Broly dumps his friends in the cave and, sort of crashes into them. They go flying out of the cave mouth down into the wilds of Vampa. And while the two of them are fighting, let's do a little, the two of them are fighting. There's Broly. And there's Zol-Gorgon. We're just doing stick figures for right now. So Zol-Gorgon isn't super familiar with Vampa's, let's say Vampa's flora and fauna. And so he's not paying attention to their surroundings. He figures Frieza's forces are going to be the only real threat to him on the planet. But he doesn't notice that one of these big green wolf rabbits is there. And so one of those just eats him when he's not paying attention. It just swallows him whole. Well, it'll get like a bite first, because like I said earlier, I think I'm going to detail him with some metal plating. So his big bull rear haunches are sticking out and wiggling around, and so Broly, in that moment, is just like, whoa. He's caught off guard. He thinks for a minute that the fight's just already over, because he's been on the receiving end of one of those creatures' nips probably more than a few times. Nip like small bite, not like nipple. So Broly just sees that happen and gives the old Keanu Reeves whoa. But before Broly has a chance to look away, the rabbite, I don't know what these things are called. They're big, like dog rabbits. They're always snarling. So the rabbite is surprised when Zol-Gorgon just totally busts his way out from behind its teeth. Excuse me. So he just smashes a bunch of its teeth out. So, it's got a little piece of teeth flying everywhere. And he pulls himself out of it. So Zol-Gorgon comes out. Gives it the old big fist. Knocks this thing's teeth out of its head and then climbs out. And then squares off with Broly one more time. And says something to the effect of, well, it looks like I'm working hard today. And then introduces himself properly as Zol-Gorgon. So they start to fight again, and by this point, Cheelai and Lemmo have extricated themselves from the rubble of the house where Broly had dumped him. And Cheelai says, we should call Goku! Like, he'll help. And Lemmo says, you know what, no, this is our home. We should be the ones to protect it. So then they head back to the cave, which, the capsule core house had been smashed, but the rest of their stuff is still in pretty good condition. So they bust out one of the capsule pods, which has some sort of little flying van thing that you see Bulma driving around in all the time. And so Lemmo and Cheelai start cobbling together a functional spacecraft, like short flight spacecraft, out of parts from the drone that they'd shot down and the capsule core car. And then they head up to orbit so that they can try and disable Zol-Gorgon's ship. They want to disable communications. So they head up there. Then we cut back down to the fight between Broly and Zol-Gorgon, and Zol-Gorgon's he's giving it to him, but Broly just keeps powering up and powering up because that's Broly's deal, right? And then something happens. Zol-Gorgon gets like a look on his face when Broly is just about to transform into like regular Super Saiyan, I guess. Well, it's sort of super duper Saiyan for Broly, but so he's just about to get like the golden hair and power up. And Zol-Gorgon is just like, wait, stop. And he just puts the fight on pause. And Broly's not mindless at this point. So he like pauses to see what's happening. And then Zol-Gorgon is like, sorry, I have 9 stomachs. I need to eat right now. And so he just busts out from, a belt pouch, if he's got one, or maybe a backpack. I don't know what he's wearing. I haven't finished designing him yet. But he somehow produces like a giant salad bowl. And he says, you want some? And so he and Broly just stop in the middle of their fight and they start eating and having a polite conversation. And Zol-Gorgon asks, how'd you get into this line of work? And Broly's response is, work? He doesn't know what work is. He just trains or kills things to eat. So Zol-Gorgon says, don't you work for Frieza? And Broly just immediately goes from, his sort of placid attitude when he's not lost to Berserker Rage. So to this like very dark, like shadowed faced, angry, countenanced fury, and says, I don't work for Frieza. And just at that moment, one of the spiders that populates Vampa leaps over to try and attack them while they are unawares. And Broly just bisects it. Just boom, one hand, cuts it straight in half, or maybe shears off all its legs. And that sort of gives Zol-Gorgon a moment of pause. And he says, I see. Then why are you protecting this planet? And Broly says, this is my home, as he's taken a big bite out of this raw spider leg. Zol-Gorgon responds, well, that explains why you're so strong. And then he sort of sighs. He says, I wish I had something to cut the oil on this salad with. Something tangy or sour. And so Broly just reaches over and squeezes the spider leg out on top of his salad. And then, this cow says something ridiculous and cow-like, like, moveless! It's like the tangiest vinaigrette! Because food is such an important thing in Dragon Ball. And comedy breaks are fun sometimes. I can just see this picture of this cow, like, I don't know. Let's say he's, his face is up in the air and his eyes are all like weepy and spewing tears. His mouth is all puckered up because he's so ecstatic that he's got something sour to cut the oil and the dressing on his giant salad bowl. Give him a big fork. Because, yes, a giant cow man should be eating salad with a fork. And so they finish up their meal and then stand up. And I guess we'll pause it there as they're about to get back into their fight, because this video is running way too long. All right, well, thanks so much for sticking it out if you did. I hope my storytelling, because I got a little lost, I forgot to keep drawing. I hope my storytelling kept you entertained, and I hope to see you back here in the near future. I'm Matt Conlon. Stay safe. Later.